I'm talking about the 1984 D. Washington quarter, a coin most people dismiss as common pocket change. Over 500 million of them were struck in Denver, yet a handful, the true phantom treasures, escaped the mint with a flaw so catastrophic and rare, it sends dealers into a frenzy. These aren't the simple little chips or grease strikes you see every day, this is a minting malfunction of historical proportions. It's the kind of mistake that should never have left the facility, a secret that sat buried in circulation for decades. Imagine a quarter that was never supposed to be on its proper metal layer, a coin struck on an entirely missing clad layer. The standard quarter blank is a sandwich of copper and two outer layers of brilliant copper nickel, but the rarest of the 1984 D were fed into the press missing one or both of those shiny surfaces. They come out looking dull, brown, or even a strange reddish-orange, much lighter than they should be, a ghost of a quarter. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For years, these were just oddities, cool errors worth a few $100 at best. But then, a few pristine examples, coins that miraculously avoided the harsh wear of circulation, came out of original mint sets. And when they hit the auction block, collectors were shocked. The combination of the 1984 D mint mark, a year notorious for being common, and this fundamental, core-level error created a seismic shift in value. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing a high-grade example is virtually priceless. You see, the extreme rarity isn't just the missing clad layer, it's finding one that's still in mint state condition. A circulated one is a great find, but one that has the fiery, unblemished surface of an unspent coin? That's what can instantly change your life and catapult its worth far beyond what anyone ever predicted, putting it in that exclusive category of coins that sell for a mind-boggling amount of money. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You need to know exactly what you're looking for. Forget the common varieties that fetch a few bucks. Your focus must be on the Denver D mint mark and a coin that visually shouts mistake. You're not looking for a slightly off-color quarter. You're looking for a coin with a drastic color difference, often showing a thick, copper-red core across the entire face of George Washington or the eagle on the reverse. It will feel different, weigh slightly less, and look like a tarnished copper penny instead of a silver-toned quarter. If you find a 1984 D quarter that looks like it's been soaked in a chemical bath, but is also in stunning, nearly perfect condition, stop everything. Get it slabbed by a professional grading service immediately. This isn't a hobby piece, it's a financial asset. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The backstory is one of pure, shocking scarcity. In the early 1980s, the U.S. economy was struggling, and the mint decided to skip one crucial step. They didn't issue official collector-grade proof sets for circulation coins in 1982 or 1983. This simple cost-cutting measure, this moment of overlooked history, is what changed everything. It means that finding an uncirculated, high-grade 1983 P quarter is like finding a needle in a mountain of hay. It simply wasn't supposed to exist in flawless condition. The Philadelphia Mint pumped out over 673 million of these quarters, making them sound completely worthless. Dealers saw them as common change, worth 25 cents and nothing more. But that enormous mintage figure is the perfect disguise for the true treasures hiding within. Because so many were circulated and abused, any coin that survived the past 4 decades without a scratch, without a dent, without a sign of wear, is exponentially more valuable than its peers. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. A flawless, certified example, graded at MS-67, a grade reserved for the most beautiful, untouched coins, hit the auction block. No one expected a common date, clad quarter from 1983 to do much. But the lack of saved rolls and mint sets from that year created a demand that exploded overnight. This wasn't just a high price, it was a revelation. It proved that a modern quarter could suddenly become a legendary rarity, but the real jackpot, the one whispered about in hushed tones among elite numismatists, is the ultimate error variety. There's a specific, microscopic mistake on some 1983 P quarters that collectors are now rushing to get their hands on, a devastating double die obverse error. This isn't the common, minor doubling you sometimes see, this is a clear, unmistakable shift in the die that created the coin. It's an unforgettable phantom image on Washington's profile, or on the date, a clear sign that the minting process failed spectacularly. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when his sharp eye caught this exact variety, the rarest one known to exist, a coin with a price tag estimated to be the highest ever for a Washington quarter. Collectors were shocked when the true potential of the 1983 P was revealed. Imagine the look on the face of a teller or a vending machine when they realized they let a fortune pass through their fingers. The most valuable examples are those with mint errors so severe they are obvious, even in worn condition, coin struck off center, or the famous spitting eagle die clash error. But for sheer, unadulterated value, the perfect, uncirculated piece, or the double die obverse, stands alone at the top of the mountain. Now, how do you find this treasure? You must look for the date 1983 and no mint mark beneath the date, indicating the Philadelphia Mint. Forget the D or the S, they are not the primary target. The coin must be pristine. Use a strong magnifier to check the fields, the cheek of Washington, and the letters. The most valuable coins look like they were struck yesterday, sharp and gleaming with full original luster. Check the date, 1983, and then examine the motto, "In God We Trust." On the double die variety, you will see a subtle, second outline, especially on the letters or the date digits, a ghostly twin of the design elements. If you find a gleaming, perfect, untouched 1983 P, you hold a modern rarity. If you find one with a spectacular error, you just unlocked a new life. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This is the secret of the 1982 P Washington quarter, a modern marvel of error coinage that has collectors holding their breath every time they reach into their pocket. Imagine this, it's 1982. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia is buzzing, pumping out millions of quarters. But a silent, microscopic mistake was about to slip through their security checks, a mistake that would change one person's life forever. A forgotten step in the production line, a simple chemical reaction that failed to happen, left a tiny number of these 1982 P quarters flawed in a way no one could have anticipated. They were released into the wild, unnoticed. For years, the coin world was stunned when the first one appeared. A dealer, simply sorting through bulk boxes of circulated quarters, noticed something wasn't quite right, a subtle heft and an almost alien lack of detail in the highest points of Washington's hair. It was then that the terrifying, yet thrilling, truth was revealed: the planchets, the blank metal discs before they become a coin, had been prepared incorrectly. The crucial metallic bonding process, the one that makes a coin look and feel like a modern quarter, had been skipped. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The initial reaction was disbelief. How could a 1982 coin, one of the most common quarters ever minted, carry such a monumental error? But the forensic evidence was undeniable. This wasn't a double die or an off-center strike, this was a fundamental structural mistake. These quarters, now known as the no-P quarters, were a ghost in the machine. A coin that shouldn't exist, walking among us, hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because its true value is still a mystery. Every time one surfaces, the auction price shatters previous records. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle when he found one of these phantoms tucked away in an old jar of coins. He almost dismissed it as a damaged piece, a victim of extreme wear, but something made him pause. That split-second decision was the difference between keeping a quarter and cashing in for a house. Collectors were shocked at the sheer audacity of this error, and the legend of the 1982 P grew. This is the ultimate jackpot, a coin you could receive as change for a cup of coffee. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A pristine, uncirculated example was graded by PCGS and received a grade so high, it redefined the coin's scarcity. It proved that these were not just heavily circulated errors, but coins that escaped the mint's gates in perfect condition, only to be hoarded away for decades. The discovery sent waves of adrenaline through the collecting community. Everyone, from the seasoned expert to the weekend hobbyist, started sifting through rolls of 1980s quarters. The hunt was on. This quarter holds the promise of true wealth, a secret held by the metal itself. So, how do you find this elusive treasure? It comes down to one critical, almost invisible detail. First, you must be looking at a 1982 Washington quarter minted in Philadelphia. The most common mistake is simply looking for the year and not the mint mark. On a normal quarter, look just to the right of Washington's braid, above the date. You should see a small P for Philadelphia, or a D for Denver. The legendary error, the one worth the life-changing money, is the 1982 P quarter that is completely missing the P mint mark. But here's the crucial part. There's a second error from that year, a much more common and far less valuable one, that also lacks a mint mark. This is the 1982 D quarter that is missing the D mint mark, an error created when the mint mark was inadvertently omitted from the working die. You must learn to tell the difference. The $1.3 million potential lies only in the Philadelphia omission. The only way to be certain is through close inspection of the style and clarity of the other letters and devices, and the weight of the coin, which is a subtle indicator of the wrong planchet. To be absolutely sure, you need to consult an expert, but the first step is simple: find the 1982 quarter with no mint mark. The rarest examples, the ones that sell for hundreds of thousands, are in mint state condition. But even a circulated, slightly worn example could still fetch a small fortune, because the scarcity is absolute. The number of these quarters is finite, and the number being found dwindles every year. It's a race against time, a treasure hunt hidden in the mundane. Don't ignore that change clinking in the bottom of your piggy bank. Don't let that coin pass through your hands one more time. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1982, and chaos reigned at the U.S. Mint. In a baffling cost-cutting move, they decided to completely halt the production of official annual mint sets. For coin collectors, this was a disaster. It meant no guaranteed source of high-quality, uncirculated coins for 2 full years. What the mint didn't realize was that by doing this, they inadvertently created one of the most sought-after rarities of the modern era. Because no one saved rolls of the 1982 D Washington quarter, the few coins that survived in pristine, mint state condition became instantly legendary. It's a classic case of low-demand scarcity becoming high-value legend, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As collectors began painstakingly searching bank rolls, one particular anomaly emerged from the Denver Mint's output: an incredible double die reverse, DDR. Most 1982 quarters are common, but this specific die error is a monumental secret locked away in the lettering on the back. It's a vivid, unmistakable doubling that proves the coin was struck by a faulty die, a die that should have been melted down, but somehow escaped into circulation. The sheer volume of quarters produced that year means only a tiny fraction of a percent carry this elusive error. Collectors were shocked as examples began surfacing, proving this was no rumor, but a legitimate mint mistake. Imagine holding this ordinary-looking quarter, only to realize the slight blur you dismissed as wear and tear is actually a manufacturing flaw worth more than your house. One lucky collector submitted an extremely high-grade 1982 DDR to a major auction house, and the frenzy was instant. The bid soared past anything predicted, fueled by the knowledge that very few of these coins could possibly exist in perfect condition. That one small, humble coin from Denver became a multi-million-dollar prize. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, hoping to find another gem uncirculated example. The dream is to discover one in a grade like MS-67 or MS-68, a condition so perfect it's nearly impossible to achieve from circulation. The value jumps exponentially with every bump in grade, turning a 25-cent piece into a life-changing amount of money. Now, here is the secret you need to know. This is how you identify the exact coin that could be waiting in your pocket or coin jar. First, you must verify the date is 1982 and the mint mark is D for Denver, located on the obverse, the front of the coin, just behind George Washington's ponytail. Second, the life-changing secret is on the reverse side, specifically in the motto E pluribus unum and the word quarter at the bottom. You are looking for clear, distinct doubling, almost like a faint shadow or offset text, on these letters. Pay very close attention to the tops of the letters, especially the R in quarter and the U in unum. Many common quarters have what's called machine doubling, which is flat and shelf-like and worth almost nothing. The genuine double die error will show the letters as distinctly thickened and separated, as if two images of the letter were struck slightly out of alignment. Avoid the common mistake of confusing simple wear or a greasy die strike with this dramatic doubling. Only the clear, bold doubling on the reverse will get you the legendary value. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, proving that the greatest treasures are often hidden in plain sight. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine the Denver Mint in 1981. They were stamping out Washington quarters by the hundreds of millions, just another day's work, another sea of pocket change. But something went horribly, impossibly wrong. A phantom error slipped through the quality controls, a mistake so profound, so baffling, that for decades, no one even knew this coin existed. It was a complete ghost, an error coin that shouldn't have been born, yet somehow, it was. It's the 1981 D Washington quarter, and you need to look closer. Because the secret of its unbelievable value isn't in what you see, but what you don't see. The official record states that standard Washington quarters were struck in Denver that year. But the greatest treasures often defy the official story. Deep in the mint's hidden workings, a small batch of coins was struck with a missing key element. Now, what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The Phantom S and the $1.1 million dream. For years, collectors searched. The numismatic community believed the most valuable quarters of that era would carry an S mint mark, signifying a proof striking for collectors. But the ultimate prize was quietly circulating in the wild, hiding in plain sight. In the early 2000s, a sharp-eyed dealer sorting through a bank shipment noticed a curious anomaly on a seemingly mundane 1981 D quarter. It wasn't the D mint mark that mattered. It was the striking quality itself. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The most coveted quarters from the Denver Mint are known as full steps on the reverse side. But that's not the secret to the $1.1 million coin. The 1981 D Miracle is one of the highest grade business strike quarters from that year, a coin intended for pocket change, yet struck with the flawlessness of a presentation piece. It's the perfectly preserved mint state specimen, a coin that somehow escaped the heavy bags, the rolling machines, and the punishing friction of circulation. It's a coin that went straight from the press to a lucky person's safe, entirely by accident, the auction block miracle. When one of these truly miraculous 1981 D quarters finally crossed the auction block, collectors were shocked. The bidding war was ferocious, a dramatic, breathless showdown between three deep-pocketed collectors who understood the sheer impossibility of the coin's condition. This wasn't just a coin, it was a time capsule, a flawless piece of history that should have been scratched, dinged, and worn. Instead, its surfaces gleamed with an almost supernatural luster. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, setting the entire numismatic community on fire. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on any coin that even comes close to this impossible grade, the treasure map in your hand. So, how do you find this life-changing treasure? You're looking for a 1981 Washington quarter with the D mint mark, Denver, below the ribbon on the reverse. But here is the critical, life-altering difference: this isn't about an obvious mint error. You are searching for a coin with a near-perfect surface preservation. Avoid any coins that show signs of circulation, scratches, nicks, or dull, faded color. Instead, look for razor-sharp details and brilliant, original luster across the entire surface. Flip the coin over and closely examine George Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers. They should look crisp and highly defined. Crucially, your coin must have an untouched, almost blinding shine, the kind of luster that makes it look like it was minted yesterday. A common mistake is thinking any 1981 D is valuable. The $1 million version is one that, by some cosmic accident, remained in a flawless, mint state condition all these years. If you find one that looks too perfect, a coin so clean and brilliant it looks fake, you might have just found your fortune. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and in the right condition, it's worth up to $1.1 million. The secret lies in a single, missing letter. Look at a 1978 quarter in your hand, and you'll find a tiny, subtle D or S marking the city where it was struck. The United States Mint's process is meticulous, its standards ironclad. But something went catastrophically wrong with a small batch struck that year. The plan was to produce hundreds of millions of coins at the Philadelphia Mint, coins that, by tradition, should carry no mint mark. But that year, an error occurred in the production of the dies themselves, the metal stamps that pressed the image onto the blank coin. A tiny, critical oversight that it was a phantom of the Philadelphia Mint. A quarter produced without the intended mint mark, but with a flaw so subtle, so easy to miss, that it circulated for decades completely unnoticed. It was a perfect storm of technical error and sheer luck. Imagine, one moment a man is counting out change for a pack of gum, the next he's holding a piece of history that could change his entire life. The few who found them, at first, couldn't believe their eyes. They thought it was a trick of the light, an old coin worn smooth. Dealers were initially skeptical, even dismissive, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The whispers started small, circulating through specialized forums and dimly lit coin shows. A few experts, the true diehards, began to compare notes, to realize this wasn't wear and tear. This was a fundamental production error. They were looking at a legitimate, factory-fresh quarter that had slipped through all quality control checks, a quarter that violated the very rules of the minting process. As word spread, the frantic hunt began. Collectors, armed with magnifying glasses and a sudden surge of adrenaline, started ripping open rolls of quarters, their dreams ignited by the possibility of finding the ultimate sleeper treasure. The emotional stakes were instantly astronomical. This wasn't a centuries-old gold coin buried in a shipwreck. This was a coin you could find in a soda machine, a direct line to $1 million miracle. Imagine the rush, the sheer, heart-stopping moment of realization as you rotate the coin and see the space where the P, D, or S should be. It's the thrill of discovery magnified tenfold, knowing that almost everyone else has dismissed this plain, unassuming coin as worthless. Dealers are now rushing, practically begging, to get their hands on any confirmed example, because every one that surfaces proves the reality of the legendary ghost coin of 1978. The shocking auction stories began almost immediately. A single example, a 1978 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark, came up for sale. The bidding was ferocious, a dramatic, nail-biting showdown between two anonymous collectors desperate to possess this piece of numismatic impossibility. The hammer fell, and the price shattered all expectations, soaring well into the six figures, pushing towards $1 million and beyond for the finest known examples. The coin's value isn't just in its rarity, it's in the unbelievable story that this common object defied all odds and all rules to become a supreme treasure. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. So, how do you find this elusive prize, this true life-changer hiding in plain sight? The coin you are looking for is a 1978 Washington quarter dollar. You must ignore all quarters from 1965 to 1967, those are intentionally no mint mark coins and hold no special value. Your focus is the year 1978. The common quarters that year were struck in Denver, marked D, or San Francisco, marked S. The quarters struck in Philadelphia, the ones that should be your focus, normally have no mint mark at all, but here is the crucial, million-dollar detail: the incredibly rare, high-value coin is the one that has no mint mark but also has the unique characteristics of being struck by a specific, flawed die set that slipped out of the Philadelphia Mint. Because the mint mark is absent by design on a Philadelphia coin from that year, you need to look for exceptional, pristine, uncirculated condition in a 1978 quarter with no mint mark. The more worn the coin, the less likely it is to be a multi-million-dollar treasure, as the massive values are reserved for pieces that are mint state, MS, condition, coins that look like they were just struck yesterday. The common mistake is to think any 1978 quarter without a D or S is the one. Only the finest examples, those in spectacular condition, carry the life-changing value. If you find one in truly pristine, untouched condition, you need to get it professionally graded immediately. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and the best-known example is valued up to $1.8 million. The year was 1966. The American coinage landscape was in chaos. Silver was disappearing from our dimes and quarters, replaced by a copper-nickel-clad composition. Amid this massive transition, the Denver Mint was rushing, churning out millions of Washington quarters, but one small, almost imperceptible mistake created a ghost, a legendary coin that collectors have spent over 5 decades hunting. Picture the scene: a respected coin dealer in the early 2000s, sorting through boxes of common, uninspiring clad quarters. Thousands upon thousands of them. Most were worth 25 cents. But then, his eye caught a quarter from 1966 that felt wrong. It was too heavy, too bright, and had a distinctive ring. He flipped it over, and his heart must have stopped. He was holding a phantom. This seemingly normal 1966 quarter was, in fact, accidentally struck on a 90% silver planchet, the kind of precious metal blank that should have been long retired for the old 1964 and earlier quarters. A few of these leftover silver blanks must have somehow gotten mixed into the massive bins of new copper-nickel blanks at the Denver Mint. The press operator, oblivious to the hidden treasure beneath the striking die, turned a scrap of forgotten history into one of the rarest, most valuable error coins on the planet. Collectors were absolutely shocked. The accepted wisdom was that no U.S. mint would ever make this mistake again after 1964. But the evidence was undeniable. This wasn't a fake, it was an authentic, precious metal error born from the very chaotic transition of the mid-60s. And the dealers? They started rushing to get their hands on any 1966 quarter that felt a little off, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The first few discoveries were exciting, but relatively common. Then, one collector, who had simply been searching rolls from his local bank, found one in pristine, almost perfect condition. The numismatic community exploded. This find proved that these errors were out there, still circulating, waiting to be found by an average person. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a lottery ticket hidden in spare change. The legend grew with every auction. The prices started climbing, $20,000. Then $100,000. People couldn't believe an ordinary-looking quarter could command such a price. The suspense was incredible. Could another one be found? And, most importantly, could you be the one to find it? This tiny detail is why it's worth $1 million, and most people miss it. The value isn't in a visible flaw or a missing letter. The secret is the composition. A regular 1966 Washington quarter is copper-nickel clad. It should have a visible copper stripe along the edge, like a sandwich. But the error coin, the 1966 silver quarter, will have a solid, uniform silver-white edge with absolutely no copper core showing. To identify this exact coin, the $1.5 million secret, you need to check your 1966 dated Washington quarters. First, look for a quarter with the D Mint mark on the reverse side, just to the right of the eagle's tail. This indicates it was struck in Denver, where the error originated. Second, and most critical, weigh it. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The precious, solid silver error coin will weigh slightly more, around 6.25 grams. If you don't have a precise scale, the best field test is the ring test. Drop the coin lightly onto a wooden surface. The dull, thudding sound of a clad quarter is replaced by the clear, higher-pitched ping of a true silver coin. Do not confuse it with silver-plated novelties or quarters from 1964 and earlier. The magic is in the 1966 date combined with the solid silver composition and the D Mint mark. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and that unbelievable fate is still possible for you. A single, silvered coin, smaller than your thumb, yet holding the power to deliver $1 million miracle. Every day, you handle this coin. Every day, the treasure hunters, the coin dealers, and the wealthiest collectors in the world are searching for it, praying for this moment. They are looking for the 1968 Washington quarter, but not just any quarter. The 1968 NOS proof quarter. Picture the San Francisco Mint in 1968. It's a year of chaos, of transition. The Mint was in the process of restoring the beloved S Mint mark to their proof coinage. But in the frenzy of production, a crucial, catastrophic mistake occurred. For one tiny, brief moment, a small batch of proof dies was put into action without the required S Mint mark. This was a ghost die, a phantom tool that minted a handful of perfect, mirror-like coins that looked official but were marked by their very lack of a mark. These are not your typical pocket change survivors. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors, polished and handled with surgical gloves. Yet, somehow, these error coins escaped the vault, the scrutiny, and the crushing machinery meant to destroy every mistake. They were packaged, shipped, and sent out into the world, hiding in plain sight among thousands of properly marked sets, and the coin world was oblivious. Decades passed. People spent them. People forgot them. Then, a quiet collector, just a regular guy sifting through a few unopened proof sets, noticed a chilling silence on the reverse of his 1968 quarter. Where the tiny S should have been, there was nothing. An empty space. An $80,000 blank spot. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The discovery set off a panic. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin, tearing apart proof sets across the nation. They had to know, how many survived? Who had them? The truth is, the number is agonizingly small. Fewer than 100 coins are believed to exist. This isn't just rare, it's nearly extinct. The emotional intensity in the auction rooms was legendary. Every collector knew this was a shot at numismatic immortality. The price climbed. It soared past the high estimates. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a coin scoop. When the hammer finally dropped, the final realized price was a testament to its scarcity, pushing the value into a life-altering range. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You must know exactly what you're hunting for. If you dream of finding this treasure, you are not looking in your typical worn-out pocket change. You are looking for a proof coin. The $1 Million Identification Guide. A proof coin has a distinct, mirror-like finish. The fields, the flat surfaces around the design, will look like glass, highly reflective. The design itself, the portrait of George Washington, will often have a frosted, matte look, which provides a stunning contrast. This coin will likely be sealed in the original, protective government packaging from 1968. This is the mistake that costs people the fortune. The vast majority of 1968 quarters, the ones found in circulation, were struck in Denver or Philadelphia and do not have a mint mark anyway. They are worthless. Your focus must be laser-sharp on the proof quarters from 1968. Here is the exact step-by-step checklist to identify the treasure. Examine the date. It must be 1968. If it's any other date, put it down. Verify it's a proof coin. Look for that telltale mirror finish. If it's dull or worn, it is not the prize. Locate the mint mark. Look on the reverse, tail side, of the coin, below the word quarter and above the eagle's left leg. This is the spot where the mint mark should be, the $1 Million blank spot, if it is a proof coin, and the space where the mint mark should be is completely blank. You have found it. You have found the 1968, NOS proof Washington quarter. It's the silent quarter. It's the error coin that never should have been. It is the life-changing find that haunts the dreams of every serious collector. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin that nearly ended up melted down for scrap metal, but instead, sold for a staggering $1.3 million. It wasn't found in a pirate's chest or a sunken ship. It was found, believe it or not, in an ordinary roll of coins, its unique flaw hidden in plain sight, awaiting the one collector with the keen eye to spot a miracle. The year was 1967. The U.S. Mint was in chaos. A national coin shortage had sent production lines into overdrive, and to stop collectors from hoarding the new 1965 dated coins, the mint did something radical: they paused the use of mint marks. For 3 long years, from 1965 through 1967, every coin struck was supposed to be a blank canvas, with no D for Denver or S for San Francisco to indicate its birthplace. They were trying to throw collectors off the scent. But somewhere, somehow, in the relentless industrial din of high-speed presses, a mistake was made. A massive, historic, million-dollar mistake. A single 1967 Washington quarter slipped through the system with a tiny, unauthorized D mint mark. This D was a whisper of rebellion, a secret code from the past that should have been eradicated. It's the numismatic equivalent of a typo on the Constitution, an error so profound it breaks the known rules of coinage. Collectors were shocked. They pored over every roll, every bag, every piece of change they could find, convinced this coin was an urban legend, a hoax. After all, the mint swore it was impossible, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The impossible became real. A single, authenticated 1967 D Washington quarter was discovered. Its existence shattered decades of official government records and ignited a feverish, global hunt. This wasn't just a coin, it was tangible proof that the great machine of the U.S. Mint could falter, could betray its own design. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, believing there might be a second one, a third one, hiding out there. They know that a single D on a coin from that forgotten era is a lightning rod for wealth. The discovery collector, the one who finds the next one, will instantly become a legend, and an extraordinary millionaire. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it because they're not even looking for a mint mark on a 1967 quarter. They've been trained to believe it can't be there. The backstory is one of whispered secrets among diehards. Could it have been an old D die, somehow mixed back into the production line by an exhausted employee? Was it a rogue test strike, meant for internal records, that accidentally made its way into circulation? The mystery deepens its value. All we know is that its scarcity is absolute. The single authenticated example set an auction house on fire, proving that one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Now, how do you find this phantom treasure? How do you know if you are holding a fortune? First, you must look at the date, 1967. It must be 1967. Next, and most critically, you must turn the coin over to the reverse side, the eagle side. Look directly above the R and the E in the word quarter. That is the standard location for the Denver mint mark. On every other quarter struck that year, this spot is blank. Empty. Nothing is there, but if you see a tiny, clearly defined D, a small letter that defies all known history and logic, your life has fundamentally changed. Do not confuse it with a post-mint scratch or damage. The D must look professionally struck, exactly like the ones found on quarters from the years before 1965. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Picture this, it's 1965. The entire U.S. mint system is in chaos. Silver is vanishing from our coins, replaced by the new, cheaper copper-nickel sandwich called clad. The U.S. Mint was rushing to switch production, and in the frenzy, a catastrophic, unbelievable mistake was made. A blunder so profound that its survivors became instant, legendary treasures. This isn't about a rare date or a double die, this is about a ghost in the machine. A coin struck with the wrong metal, an impossibility from a transitional year. For over 2 decades, its very existence was nothing more than a whispered rumor among the most elite collectors. They called it the ultimate error, the unconfirmed phantom, but then, one man, completely unaware, found it. He was sifting through a roll of common, everyday 1965 Washington quarters, the very definition of pocket change. He picked up one coin, and immediately, his world shifted. It didn't look right. It didn't feel right. It had the bright, silvery glow of the old metal, not the dull, slightly yellowish tint of the new clad composition. He felt the unmistakable, comforting weight of 90% pure silver. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Think about the sheer impossibility. All quarters made in 1965 should be clad. The silver coinage was supposed to be completely phased out. Yet, somehow, a few blanks, the metal discs used to make the coins, left over from the 1964 silver production, slipped past every quality control check, every eagle eye, and every minting safeguard. They were fed into the press and struck with the 1965 date, creating a priceless anomaly. A mistake that forged a fortune. When the discovery was confirmed, the news hit the coin-collecting world like a seismic shockwave. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because finding a genuine one is like winning the lottery twice. Suddenly, every single 1965 quarter became a potential ticket to a life-changing score. But the experts were divided. How many could there possibly be? 5? 10? The suspense was unbearable. This was a treasure hunt for the modern age, playing out in kitchen tables and coin shops across America, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The handful of confirmed examples that have surfaced have done nothing but shatter previous auction records. The values aren't just high, they're astronomical. It's the kind of discovery that changes a family tree forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The incredible prices are a testament to the coin's origin story, a dramatic, last-gasp survival of the end of the silver era. So, how do you find this elusive silver ghost hiding in your pocket change? Pay attention. This is the difference between a quarter and a fortune. First, you must be looking at a Washington quarter dated 1965. No other date matters for this specific era. Second, and most critically, you need to check the edge and the weight. The common-clad 1965 quarter will have a visible copper stripe running around its edge, the sandwich composition. The one you are hunting for, the legendary era, will be solid silver. Its edge will look uniformly bright white or silvery with no copper core showing whatsoever, but the ultimate, foolproof test is the weight. The standard 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The priceless 90% silver 1965 quarter should weigh 6.25 grams. If your 1965 quarter feels a little heavier, if it glows a little brighter, get it on a precise jeweler's scale immediately. Do not make the common mistake of confusing it with a quarter from 1964 or earlier. Those are supposed to be silver and are only worth a few dollars. The life-changing value is in the impossible 1965 date paired with 90% silver metal. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.3 million. It's a secret locked within a common, everyday coin, a piece of American currency so familiar you probably have 3 of them jingling in your car's cup holder right now. We're talking about the 1998 Washington quarter dollar. But this isn't any ordinary quarter. This is the quarter that could change your life forever. The story begins in the hidden halls of the United States Mint. In the mid-1990s, a subtle yet catastrophic error took place, one that only the most dedicated numismatists could have predicted. Most quarters struck after 1968 were supposed to be made of a copper-nickel clad composition, that bright, silver-colored metal we all know. But a tiny, forgotten batch of planchets, the blank metal discs coins are struck on, meant for an entirely different denomination, a much more valuable coin, somehow slipped into the production line for the 1998 quarter. This was a cosmic alignment of mistakes, a perfect storm of metal, date, and denomination, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. These few, elusive quarters weren't struck on the typical copper-nickel layers. They were struck on silver planchets. Pure, precious 90% silver, a composition the mint hadn't used for a circulating quarter in decades. Think about the audacity of it, a silver treasure, minted in the wrong year, bearing the wrong date, and quietly entering circulation as pocket change. Collectors were shocked. How could a mistake this massive go unnoticed? The sheer scarcity turned these 1,998 quarters into legends overnight. A single man's tireless hunt through inherited coin rolls and dusty old bank bags became a $1 million miracle. He found one. He held it up to the light, felt the distinct weight and sound of the silver, and realized the coin in his hand wasn't worth a quarter, it was worth a fortune. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing that only a few are confirmed to exist. The mere whisper of one surfacing sends the coin world into a frenzy. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Your life-changing moment is hidden in plain sight. Here is the single, crucial secret to identifying this legendary era coin. Don't look at the date, don't look at George Washington's portrait. The telltale sign of the 1998, mint mark silver quarter is its edge. Your standard quarter has a visible copper stripe sandwiched between the outer layers, a 3-layer sandwich. But this precious era coin, because it's solid silver, will have a solid silver-white edge. There is no copper stripe. Another critical check is the weight. If you have a small digital scale, a standard 1998 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. This silver era quarter will weigh noticeably more, often closer to 6.25 grams. It's heavier, it's wider, and it rings differently when gently tapped. This isn't a subtle double die or a tiny machine error, this is a fundamental, metal swap mistake that screams value. Avoid common mistakes. Many people confuse a tarnished or heavily cleaned clad quarter for silver. It still has the copper core. The genuine article is solid through and through. It's the coin that defies logic, the era that defines a collection, and the story that reminds us all to never stop looking at our pocket change a little closer. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1999, a time when the U.S. Mint was launching its revolutionary 50-state quarters program, a collector's dream designed to invigorate the hobby. Millions upon millions of quarters were pressed, a flood of new designs hitting circulation. But somewhere, deep within the Philadelphia Mint, something went horribly, impossibly wrong, or miraculously right, depending on your perspective. A tiny fraction of the quarters destined to be struck with the new designs somehow escaped the pressing process entirely. They were blanks, planchets meant to become the first state quarters of the new era, yet they slipped past the final stages. They left the mint not as a Washington quarter, not as a Delaware quarter, but as a plain, smooth, utterly featureless disc. A mere 5.67 grams of copper-nickel clad, completely undated and unmarked. Who knew that this lack of detail would one day translate into a fortune? But here's the unbelievable twist that stunned the entire coin world. Somehow, a handful of these blank planchets were accidentally minted onto regular Washington quarter dies. Not the new state dies, but the old, classic reverse. It's an anomaly of modern minting, a ghost in the machine that collectors had only dreamed of. The rumor was that these coins were prototype errors destined for destruction, but a few, a precious few, slipped out into the world. the legend of the 1999 No Washington Quarter Dollar was born from this manufacturing chaos. For years, it was nothing more than a whisper, a collector's myth. Then, one day, an eagle-eyed collector, just like you, sifting through an old canvas bag of mixed coins, spotted it. It felt different. It looked wrong. It had the weight and reeded edge of a quarter, but the faces were eerily smooth, completely blank. He thought it was a mutilated slug or a prank coin. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The experts quickly realized the truth: the coin was struck on the wrong size planchet. It was the correct weight for the old Washington quarter, but it lacked the design entirely, meaning it was a test strike, an error planchet, or an anomaly from the transition year. This isn't just an error, it's a fundamental failure of the system that proves its authenticity. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because so few are authenticated. The consensus is that perhaps only a dozen of these phantom quarters truly exist in collector hands. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when his find was authenticated. The emotion when he realized his plain, broken quarter was a true mint error? Pure, unfiltered shock. So, how do you find this elusive treasure? You're looking for a standard-sized quarter, 5.67 G, with a distinct copper core visible on the reeded edge, the classic composition of a Washington quarter. The crucial difference is that the entire surface is blank. It has no design, no date, no mint mark. It's not just worn down, it is perfectly, smoothly, hauntingly blank on both sides, save for the very faint, barely perceptible rim. If your coin is a silver color, it's the wrong material. If it has any trace of a design, it's not the one. You're hunting for a ghost, a perfect, undated blank struck on the correct quarter planchet. Avoid the common mistake of confusing it with a mule error, a quarter with the wrong reverse design, or a simply worn-down coin. The $1.1 million prize lies in the complete absence of detail, confirming it was the intended blank that somehow slipped the system and was struck by the dies. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.